All righty, traders. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Did you guys think that was broken? Did you guys? Did I get any of you guys? Did you guys are like, oh shoot, my stupid internet died. Sorry, I'm tired. I'm actually really quite tired today. So let me tell you guys a quick story, and then we're going to go into the markets. So last night, I was mentioning to you guys this never happens, by the way. This never happens. So last night, it was a now think like do the math here, right? It's a 7:00 arrival, 7 p.m. Now, mind you, I usually go to bed like an hour and a half later. 7 p.m. arrival, game kickoff was at 7:45. So I'm already thinking, geez, I'm not going to get home until pretty late. I'm already thinking that last night. So we get there, 7:45, game kicks off. Our halves for my son's football soccer match, the halves have been extended from 35 minutes to 40 minutes because of his age group. And then, as they turn 18, then they start playing, like hour halves or whatever it is. I forget what the number is. Anyway, but they don't do that. As they're younger, they play shorter. And then as they get older, they're, more physical. You get it. Anyway, for his age group, it extended. I'm like, oh crap, I didn't even think about that. Then the half happens. Then by the time you get, we were finished with the game. It was getting close to 9:00 already. We're like, okay, on the way home, we're going to stop and grab some salads. There's a salad place. We're just going to get them to go, and we're going to go home. Everybody's happy with salads. We get there, it's closed. I'm sorry. We started to leave, and we're like, oh shoot, they're not even open. We're like, dang. So we're driving, and we're like, okay, this place has to be open. And that place was closed. The next place was closed. Then I'm like, okay, I've got my wife navigating on Google. I'm like, okay, check this Mexican food restaurant. They're open 24 hours a day. They shut down the location. And I'm like, it shows you how often we go out for like fast food or type of thing. Then I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just go to McDonald's. I know they're open. There's one, pretty darn close. Let's just do that. So we go to McDonald's, order food. There's like, I don't know why on a Thursday night, there was probably like 7 or 8 people in the drive-through. And I'm like, or no, this is like almost 10 o'clock now. I'm like, no way. But we really have no choice. My kids are hungry, actually all my kids are hungry, and they have school the next day. And it's like, well, this is what we have to deal with. So then we get the food. We actually had to pull over on the side because only the drive-thru is open. We had to pull over on the side so they could make all of our food, get the food, go home, get inside, open up the food. Because you guys think like this stuff never happens. It only happens to you, never happens to anybody else. So we get home, open the food, and by this time, it is literally 10:15 at night, open up all the food. And guess what? Take a guess. Wild guess. Then we're going to get to the charts. Wrong. Yeah, it was the wrong order. Of course it was, right? And so, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go. You guys stay here and do whatever you got to do. I'm going to go. So I ran back over to McDonald's. I'm obviously, smoke is coming out of my ears. And I'm pounding on the door. I'm like, and they're just completely ignoring you. They don't even want you, because they only have the drive-thru open. I'm like, come on. Even the guy that runs out to give the food, he wasn't running out. I'm like, I look at the drive-thru line. There's like another 10 people. Now we're talking like 10:30 at night, and there's still all these people. I don't know why everybody's eating so late. I don't get it. Anyway, so I finally go through the drive-thru. I'm like, I get to the window. I'm like, you guys gave me the wrong order. I was here like 20 minutes ago. Like, yeah. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And so needless to say, by the time I got the food, got home, it was like 11-ish. So if I sound a little loopy, that's why. That is why. That is why. And I told my wife last night, I'm like, I'm not doing any more of these late games. You're on your own. I can't do it. Just can't do it. Anyway, let's talk about what we can't do right now. Let's talk about it. The dollar can't break out. That's what we can't do right now. So the dollar is actually stuck in this range. Notice here's the dollar index, right? Very tight trading range. And you know, the thing is, and I wanted to mention this, and you know, I was talking about it in the chat room. Lorraine said all the people in line came from the same game. No, because it was actually, the game was far. It was 15 minutes away from where I live. So no, I was at a McDonald's that was by my house anyway. But I want to show you something that this move lower in the S&P, this probably caught a lot of people short. Then, you know, obviously, you know, the market squeezed higher. It fell originally on some, you know, Afghanistan. There were some bombings and some, you know, people had, a couple of people had died, I guess. A couple of Americans, I think, if my memory serves me correctly. The thing that I wanted to point out in the chat, well, I pointed out in the chat room, but I wanted to point out to you guys is geopolitical risks haven't mattered a whole lot. And they normally don't matter to me. Like whenever you see a move that is some reason why the market is like selling or buying because of some geopolitical event, usually it's faded pretty quickly. I am, though, going to say that based on the elevated levels that we're at in equities, I do think we need to pay a little bit of attention. If it's like, especially if it's like a China, Taiwan type of situation, that will matter because it's going to matter to China, which, you know, arguably is, you know, on the cusp of being the largest, you know, economy, in the world. So that will matter a little bit to stocks. But what's happening in Afghanistan? I mean, it's, and you guys will have your opinions. And as ex-military person, Marine who served overseas, I have my opinions too. I try not to, you know, give them to you guys regarding those things. But I'll say that I don't think I have to look at it from a pragmatic standpoint in the markets. What's happening in Afghanistan, is it going to affect the stock market? Probably not. Right? Is it going to affect our economy? Probably not. Right? Will it frustrate people? Sure, of course. You know, will it make some people happy? Some people, you know, some people sad, some people excited, you know, yeah, of course. But is it going to affect our economy? No. So you got to kind of separate the two. That's why when stocks or the market moves on geopolitical events, unless it's going to impact an economy or maybe even a global economy in a you know, if it's going to affect the economy, then that's something. Like I said, China, Taiwan would, I would sell risk on that. You know what I mean? I would, because obviously it'll really strain the China-US relations. There might not be one. There could be risk of a further escalation, you know, obviously is, you know, so there's a whole multitude of reasons why that would be an issue. But Afghanistan, no. Is it, you know, unfortunate what's happening there? I think every one of us could agree it is, you know, and it has been. So anyway, the reason why I say all that is because we had a little false breakdown in the S&P. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really trust that. And what we saw in the dollar is the dollar firmed up a little bit and then it came off. What I'm actually more surprised about is the dollar Canadian actually broke higher pretty aggressively. It didn't take other dollar pairs with it. The dollar Mexican peso was already firmed up as it is. You know, I think we're building a nice little, this is probably not what we're building in the dollar mex. The dollar mex probably looks something more like this. You know, if I had to guess, you know, we're building some sort of triangle consolidation ahead of tomorrow. But you'll see, like, you know, some currencies. I'm obviously focused on the US dollar Norway because I've got, you know, long exposure here. That's not really going anywhere. The euro's not really going anywhere. The dollar yen is dollar yen still holding up pretty well. You know, so I'm looking at the market basically going nowhere, but the dollar Canadian has acted a little bit better. Maybe that's from the fact that it was probably pretty oversold, right? And if you're not in the chat room, as I mentioned, I moved my stops up after I picked up the dollar Canadian earlier. I've taken some profits along the way, but now I have a small position in the dollar Canadian long, and it's fine because now my stops are break even there, which I'm kind of glad I've taken some off because, you know, I'm down a little bit in my Norway trade. I'm, you know, dollar Mexican peso, I'm positive, but not much. So it's nice that I've booked some profits in certain places. But, you know, you look at the dollar Canadian, you know, don't think that we're, you know, that it's, you know, it's gone, you know, we could be doing something like this. Yeah, I'm trying not to be too terribly excited about being long dollar Canadian at the moment. It's nice. I think it looks great currently, but we could be flagging. You know, really, it just has to be. You know, you know, we just need a dovish Powell tomorrow. And so let me ask you this. And Denise said oil's come down today. Maybe that's an influence on the pair. Yeah, but it didn't affect Norway. And I actually think Norway is going to be the more aggressive move for oil. But that, you know, that's just an opinion. That's not. I mean, your answer could be as easily as right as that. You know, maybe it is just as easy as that. It's more crude, but I guess the point I'm trying to make here is we still have to be really careful, because what I wanted to point out is tomorrow I want to talk a little bit about this because I want you guys to kind of have this in your mindset. I was talking about this in the Forex Flow side of the chat room. So right here, talking with some of the new guys to the community, right? Here, and I want to explain to you guys what I was saying for those of you that are not in the chat rooms. So we have seen the Delta variant and the cases in the US. I think they're starting to moderate, right? And if you look at other hard hit areas such as India predominantly, and you know, Southeast Asia and places that have had, you know, Delta variant cases, which, hold on, I got to say something which I think is really interesting, something else too. You know, when you test for COVID, they don't tell you if it's a Delta variant. I'm sure they do test for it somehow, or they know, I don't know. Like, they don't tell you. How do I know that? Because we just had so many, you know, COVID tests as of the last couple of weeks. Yeah, they don't tell you if, oh, you got the Delta variant or not. I even called the public service to ask, because my son was positive, right? And they don't disclose that. I'm like, okay. Anyway, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because based on the numbers that we see, the Delta variant looks like you know, COVID cases are starting to pare back a little bit. It's moderating in the places that were harder hit. And the reason why I say that is because I don't think that COVID is going to deter Powell, if at all. I think that the jobs report next Friday is going to be the more impactful news. So do I think that the Fed's going to continue to feed the idea that we are going to get a taper? Yes. I don't think he's going to be super dovish tomorrow in his speech, because I just don't think he's going to reference COVID a whole lot. But he could. I'm just saying, I don't think he will. I think he's, more set on, I've got to taper, I've got to moderate monetary policy in case COVID, in his mind, if COVID is an ongoing thing for the next several years and we get a lot of starts and stops. And honestly, I mean, between you guys and I do think COVID's going to be around for a while. I've always said that I think it's going to be more like pneumonia. You're going to be like, oh, I got the flu. Oh, I got pneumonia this year. Oh, I got COVID this year, but there's going to be treatments. And, I really think that that's the way it's going to be. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a physician. Who knows? I just think it's going to be with us a lot longer, and we're going to, see more variants. And, so the reason why I say that is because if we're going to have starts and stops with like higher COVID cases, people get a little worried, economy might slow down. It'd be like a little bungee cord or slinky, if you will, then perhaps what'll happen is that you got to get the Fed governor that says, I need to moderate monetary policy a little bit to get some ammunition back in my ammo can, just in case I have to fight something in the future. So, whether it's inflationary pressures or a slower economy after 12 years of an expansion, did we have a brief, like ever so brief recession, I guess, because of COVID, but in all actuality, you could really look at it as 12 years of expansion. So I think the Fed probably wants to normalize rates a little, quicker if they can without disrupting the market. So therefore, he's probably not going to be as dovish as the market's hoping he's going to be. Now, what I do think is going to be more important is going to be next week. The jobs report is going to tell us how fast, or not us, but economists and analysts, it's going to tell the market how fast and how much the taper is going to be going into next Friday following the jobs report. Strong jobs report, people are going to be like, holy crap, here it comes, and that pace might be 20, 25, whatever the taper amount is, it'll be a more aggressive. And then that's going to have a higher impact as far as the dollar is concerned. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that the dollar sold off a lot this week. The dollar sold off a lot at the beginning of the week on expectations of a, kind of a dovish Fed chairman. I think if he continues to lead the market down the path that he believes that, we believe that tapering will happen this year. We're still unsure about the pace of it. Then you might see the dollar continue to bounce. That's what I think. And that's where my head's at. But what I'm hoping is going to happen over the next, 12, 18 hours is that the dollar will continue to hold up pretty well. And then I can start adjusting stops, because I don't want to go in with a lot of risk tomorrow. That's not the intent. The intent tomorrow is to try to get my stops to break even or profitable, or, reduce risk as much as possible going into tomorrow, because tomorrow I think we have a chance of a pretty good move. I do. I think that the dollar's come off quite a bit. I say, let's go back to the dollar. I think the dollar's come off quite a bit. I think it could recover back to, 92.20, 93.20, 93.50, somewhere back up here. And I think we're gonna know what the dollar is going to do following tomorrow by just here. Let me remove this. I think we're going to be able to look at this box here basically and say, hey, above here, we'll get a little squeeze. Below here, we're going to see a little bit of dollar liquidation, down to these levels. And then we're going to, going into next week, right? Next week, we're going to be doing one of these. Like we're up here, we're going to see if we're going to break out or really break out or not in the dollar, depending on the jobs report. Or we're going to be down here next week going, okay, this dollar is really going to break down or not, depending on the jobs report, right? Because then if you have like a weak jobs report, then you go flushing through the support here, and then the dollar, tests 91.70. Anyway, those are just my thoughts for right now. I will say this once again. Please do not get yourself in a lot of trouble. This is not the market right now to be chasing the market, B, to let your losses build too much, because you want to be able to, you want to be able to, you have to give yourself an opportunity to be able to make up what you lost. And if you let those losses build too much, we don't have enough volatility at this moment to be making up any big losses. So keep your losses small, let your winners run as much as you can, and take some profits along the way too. I never met a rich man or woman who went broke taking profits. Jason asked, Blake, what are my thoughts on the Aussie New Zealand? I like it. I actually like the Aussie New Zealand long down here. I've had some long. I've gotten out of it, just like break even. I actually like it down here, but I mean, we're holding above 104. I think, maybe we get one more dip to the 618 right here. Sorry, I'm yawning. Maybe we get another dip down to the 618 right here. It's possible, but because that's this one. Low, high. Maybe we get back down here to 103.90. So anyway. Let's see. Amira. I'm not going to say that. I'm just not going to say it. I'm not going to make political comments. You can't force me. You can't force me into doing that. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and have a good evening. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the FACE webinar, and good luck today. All right. Thanks everybody for your support.